Here we are, Power Up's Ask a Health or Fitness Expert podcast, where we have a variety of guests that volunteer to share their love of health and fitness or products or services that are all good for us. A quick disclosure, this podcast contains our own personal tips, advice, suggestions, and opinions. Our honorary guest is Jake Weeks. Of course, every week you're here. I just can't get rid of you.
Good luck. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always fun. I always enjoy our time every week. So we're going to talk about workout design this week. And I didn't really prepare for this podcast, but
when have you? Just kidding. Sorry.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I put like a lot of thought into it and a lot of, I don't know. But then it just feels more natural when we just kind of have a conversation and include everybody.
It does. And this should be a natural topic for you. You're a experienced natural bodybuilder who just turned pro. So why don't you start by telling us, like, what's your basic workout design premises for yourself?
Well, for me to feel my best and leave the gym feeling accomplished, I feel that really it's important to stretch first. Not a lot, but a little bit. Get some stretch going, get the blood pumping. So what I do with that is typically, right now it's on the treadmill. You can go on the treadmill from anywhere from 10, 20 minutes, kind of get that heart rate up, start feeling good, get the joints lubed up. And then from there, I will figure out, am I going to work on my upper body, lower body, or kind of an all body workout sometimes. And I always try to incorporate the core. The core is essential. Me having 2 back surgeries, if I knew what I know today, 20 years ago, I know that I could have avoided both of those. So for me, it's in my clients that I coach or train, it's all about the core. So the core needs to be incorporated somehow, some way. In fact, actually, the core needs to be engaged before doing any kind of workout or movement, whether you're plugging in the Christmas tree or picking up the dustpan or whatever, your core needs to be engaged. But so for me, going back to what do I do, a lot of times I like to go in the gym with a plan, because if I don't have a plan, then I'm kind of lost and it's a little chaotic and I might do this or that. And then I leave not feeling a whole person, feeling like I accomplished what I went there to accomplish. So upper body, I would definitely try to do I would typically stick with isolated movements, dumbbells, rather than a barbell, which in turn ends up limiting the range of motion, or, I know that my right side's stronger than my left side. So if I use the dumbbells and purposefully isolate my muscles, that works out the best. But if I do go with dumbbells, I usually stick with dumbbells for that entire workout. If I decide to do cables that day or machines, then I'll stick with machines or cables that day. But not only with the upper body, I would definitely hit certain muscle groups, primarily, maybe shoulders. But I'm always trying to make sure that I'm not creating like some sort of postural imbalance at the same time. And I do see people at the gym that do that. Like they'll work on certain muscle groups, but then, you actually watch them walk by and they're kind of like hunched over or curved over a little bit. And I always think, if they would just do a little bit of back workout and incorporate that with their shoulder workout, and know what they're doing as far as what muscles and engaging them, having that mind muscle connection, they might be able to prevent some of that postural imbalance. I feel like I'm rambling.
Yeah, there's lots of imbalances. The most popular ones, especially for young lifters, are not lifting legs or lifting their pecs and biceps and neglecting their back and triceps, things like that. For me personally, and my clients, if we don't lift every day and I'm with a client, we're going to hit every muscle group every time we meet. And for me, when I'm really lifting a lot, like 6 times a week, I'll alternate body parts. So I'll go up or lower. Some people like to do pushes and pulls.
Right.
If anything, and I've thought about that quite a bit. If anything, I'd probably separate the joints so I wouldn't work the same joint on back-to-back days. That's how I
Oh, for
probably do it.
sure.
And in general, I work upper and lower, like I said, but the older we get, the more important it is to actually have rest time between, you know, for teenagers getting into it, they can definitely afford to go hard every other day and do it for years and not show much increased risk of injury or anything like that, you know. But for us, as we get into our 30s and older into life, then we got to really be cognizant of the extra time. I also, one of the most important things to me is just to be efficient when I'm there. Like, I think it's a huge waste of time to spend more time sitting on the bench recovering from the sets than actually lifting weights. In fact, I don't have recovery time per se. I'm always doing something with that time. So while my muscle's recovering, I'm exercising another muscle, or at the very least stretching. I'm a big believer in supersets, just going from one thing to the other. I like to be flexible with my workouts. In my past, I have been very prescribed and planned, but when you go to a busy gym, sometimes that machine you want to use is taken. And I'm not going to sit around and wait for it anymore. So I'll go in with the plan to lift my upper body, and then I'll see what equipment's available, and then I'll go from there. And now, obviously, if my clients, I'm a lot more prescribed usually. And then I really like to target how many sets I do per week. And from what I understand, that's like what the most recent science suggests, and the highest level bodybuilders and teachers are doing is they're basically counting the amount of sets. And what they're basically figuring out now is it's the total amount of weight lifted. So you could lift less weight, way more reps, or a lot of weight, less reps, but the total amount of weight lifted is really what counts towards the gains. They also have said that science, and when I say they, I'm talking, and I've mentioned these guys before, but Brad Schoenfeld, Mike Israetel, these are some of the guys that I follow on YouTube that are often quoted in the literature. They're teachers, they conduct studies themselves. They say that about 10 sets is kind of the minimum threshold for how many you want for gains, and that some of the top bodybuilders are up north of 20 plus sets per body part per week, which is a lot. I like to target about 12 for myself, because I'm usually, when I'm really lifting hard, I'm lifting 6 days a week, alternating upper lower. So I'll target basically 4 sets for every lift that I do. That's how I like to do it. I like to at least hit that 10 set threshold. But I found that stuff pretty interesting, this latest science about it, because for a long time, bodybuilding used to be looked at as I'll go and lift one muscle part one day a week and I'll just beat the hell out of it, you know, which there could be some science behind that, but you got to get 20 or 30 sets in. And by the 20th or 30th set, or even if you just do 10, are you getting as much, or is that muscle so fatigued that you just can't even lift a fraction of the weight? It's all these things you have to balance. But it sounds like, whereas it used to be lift one muscle group a week for bodybuilders, now the science and the best bodybuilders are hitting those muscle groups many more times a week and doing less on those times. But I don't know what you've been in the bodybuilding community per se more. I'm in the general fitness community more than I'm in the bodybuilding community. Is that something you've seen change since you've been in it? Or what is the typical division of body parts?
Twice a week, hitting those muscle groups twice a week. That's what I'm seeing. And of course, you're right. It changes. Like, bodybuilding's changed a ton in the time that it's been out. You know, I mean, it's completely, some of the old ways are, you know, laughed about and joked about to this point now. I think that there's just a continual learning curve. Like, everything is shifting and changing, and it's just, you know, testing it out, trying it out, what works for you, what, you know, and our bodies are all different too. We're not all cookie cutter. We don't all have the same testosterone levels, you know, naturally or unnaturally. So, you know, there's so many different variables in there, and in what you're feeding your body. But 2 times a week is what I shoot for, to
per body part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's optimal. Now, do I do that every single week? Not always. Life happens.
But how many sets is that, and how many different lifts do you typically do?
Well, see, for me, I think that it's really, and this has changed and shifted in the time that I've been doing bodybuilding, because when I first started, I would spend 2 hours a day. Now, I have developed quite a lot of muscle since that point. You know, when I first started, 2 hours a day, I had a lot more body fat and less muscle. Now I'm very cognitive to not go greater than an hour. And honestly, I believe that creates balance in a person's life as well. So for me, it's not so much about the sets and the reps, though I agree with you. I think volume is really important. And I believe that in order to grow, if that's what your goal is, to grow muscle or get stronger, you need to have more volume over a week period or whatever. But I believe that it's doing as much as possible in that 1 hour time frame and then clock out, be done. I agree with not having excess time sitting on the bench. I can tell you, like we did that last podcast, we had all the, joking about, the things in the gym that we see. And there are people in the gym that they're always sitting and resting and on their phone, and I'm just like, man, you could just capitalize on this time so much more if you just get off the phone and just really unplug for that 1 hour and really just focus on your muscle groups. Focus on what you're there to achieve. And whether that be endurance or strength or growing muscle or whatever it is, but just having that 1 hour period. So to answer your question, it can vary, it just depends on what I'm doing that day. But I do believe that, overtraining can happen if you're doing more than 15 sets in a day. I feel like that's just way excessive. Again, having balance. If you're not resting and recovering, you're creating, so you're really not going to improve, or it's going to be really slow because of all the cortisol and all the damage that you're doing to your muscles. There needs to be balance in all things, what you're eating, how you're sleeping, how you're recovering, how you're hydrating, and how you're working out. I think it all is just in a balance. It's like a wheel.
You're right. And overtraining, signs of it are like tendonitis, or you go in and you're just so much weaker doing the same thing than you were doing a couple of days ago. Your muscle hasn't fully recovered, and it does take more time the older you get. So please be cognizant of that. I'd say the best advice we can give to people watching this is stay busy. Don't have idle time. Go from one exercise to the next. You don't have to do all 3 of your bicep sets in a row. You can alternate them with tricep sets, and you're not going to be hurting yourself at all. I think that's probably the best advice that we can give, is just stay busy. And honestly, over half the people I see at the gym don't do that. They do a set and they stand and they waste time, and then they go back to it. I used to lift an hour a day. Now I lift about 20 minutes just because I don't want to be there that long. I do other things at the gym, but I get a whole upper body workout and a whole lower body workout. I get 4 sets per muscle group, but I could work out for an hour and I could get all 12 of my weekly sets in just by moving from one lift to the next, And what I'll usually do is I'll work a chest lift, back lift. I'll go through all my upper body, and then I'll go back through and do the same lifts. And I'll usually aim for rep range, like 8 to 12 is typically where I go on average. I think that's the best for strength and musculature growth. Sometimes I'll aim lower, sometimes I'll aim higher, and I'll kind of structure that so that I'm working like more in the strength reps, like around 5 and 6. And then the next day or next week, I'm working in the higher reps, so that I'm working like my strength reps, and then I give those muscles like a week to recover. I'm still back to working those same muscle groups, but in a different rep range, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I keep things varied. I don't do the same workout really ever. I try to like continually change it, whether that be the sets, the reps, the equipment that I use, like I said about the dumbbells or the barbells. I'll throw that in there every once in a while, especially.
And that is the number one rule of program design, is you have to challenge your body with new stuff, and then your body responds. That's the number one rule. Second rule is periodization, which means you got to have a systematic way of changing it. So if you do this certain set of exercises, try to remember what those weights are. If you're really sophisticated, you can write them down, and then come back a month or 2 later and you should see some gains, and you want to have a systematic approach so that you can actually see yourself build in strength. I probably didn't explain that well, but writing stuff down really helps a lot. And I've seen my best strength gains when I'll cycle through every month or 3 months. I'll do these lifts and I'll come back to them, like I said, after having like gone from doing that lift 12 reps, 10 reps, 8 reps, 6 reps, then I'll come back to 12 reps. And then what I was able to do just 8 times before, now I can do it 12 times. And I'm probably not explaining that very well, but it's just that systematic approach to improvement. Writing things down, keep organized helps.
Here's the thing though, you hire somebody like you or me, we can keep track of those sets, reps, how much weight, and get you some progression, get you some muscle, gains or strength or endurance. But, you know, reality is it's a lot. There's a lot to know. There's a lot to keep track of. And in order to do it properly or learn how to do it, you know, is to have someone teach you, coach you, hire a trainer. You know, you do online and in person. For me, I have an app that I train through that automatically keeps track of your weight and reps and sets. Of course, you got to plug it all in, but and then it has videos and it, you know, keeps track of all that stuff. So, you know, but you, I'm sure, keep track of that and push people and to achieve whatever their goals are.
I do, and hiring us is always your best option. Just kidding. We are trying to help people though who can't afford to or don't have the proximity to us, who do want to learn how we're thinking and how professionals do approach these types of things.
Right. Yeah, because most trainers in a gym are going to be charging $65 an hour.
Yeah, and some of these apps are really expensive and they're not personalized, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like the one that I have, I work through an app actually, but I create custom curated workout plans for my clients and they can chat through it. They can let me know when they're at the gym. I can encourage them. I can remind them. So it's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, I like it. Like, you know, it shows all the videos, explains how to do it. So you can read if you're, you know, you want to see it, you can, you know, see how it's performed. And but yeah, that's the approach that I'm taking at this time. At some point I would really like to do it in person, but that's where I'm at right now. I do have clients that I'm working with face to face and one-on-one on the phone. So with their weight loss. So I'm kind of doing both right now, the personal training and weight loss program. So two completely different programs, but that's my passion, is helping people and getting them to their goals, whatever that is. What are you trying to achieve? What do you want? You know, lose weight, you want to gain muscle, or you want to do both? Let me help you. So.
And most people are trying to lose fat, even if they're just lifting in the weight room. So that's another reason to just stay moving, stay busy. Don't just sit there chatting or waiting to use a piece of equipment when there's something else to use. So if I had to just sum up my best pieces of workout design advice, stay busy, you know, be efficient with your time, systematically hit every muscle group, systematically target certain rep ranges where you're coming close to failure at least. And give yourself time to recover. What do you think? Did I miss some big, obvious pieces of advice that everyone should be incorporating? Or
I think consistency is key. That's kind of the thing that I find with a lot of my clients is that, you know, they come at this really hard and strong and excited and motivated, and then, you know, ghost me or fizzle out, you know, and that's kind of what I try to teach, is start small, really small. Let's start really, really small and build on that. So for instance, just like a plank, you know, you can only do 20-second plank. Fantastic. We're going to do 20-second planks this week. Next week, we'll see if we can increase that a couple seconds, and we'll just keep increasing. But, you know, I think that's the biggest thing, is a lot of people are afraid of hiring a personal trainer or starting a workout regimen because they think it has to be painful or take a long time. But reality is it's just starting really small, and finding someone that can encourage you and be there with you and kind of maybe pull you back from getting hurt or being in a lot of pain. Because if you do come at it too strong and you find yourself with a bunch of muscle pain and aches for the first week, you're probably not going to want to go back to the gym. You're going to associate pain with the gym, and it really shouldn't be that way. It should be fun. You know, whether you hire a personal trainer that kind of gives you some direction, or meet a friend and go work out and just go have fun, make some laughs, have some memories, and but just start small.
That is the best piece of advice. Make it sustainable. Make it so that you actually look forward to going to the gym. And that's why I don't really like do as much of the planning exact lists anymore, is because sometimes I just didn't feel like squatting and I didn't want to go there all stressed out, forcing myself to. Now I just go find a leg lift that I do feel like doing that day, and that's good enough for me.
Right.
So start there. Start with things you like. Start with machines you like, exercises you like, and Thank you, Katherine. That is great advice.
Yeah,
Sustainability is so important.
Well, I think too is being open to trying new things. And that's actually, even though I'm a personal trainer and I go to Orange Theory once a week because I just want somebody to plan it for me. I just want to step into that room and unplug from the world, not have my phone, not have anything, and just focus on what I'm trying to achieve in there. And some workouts that they do in there, things that I've actually honestly never done before, one or two, it's been years since I've done. So I find that, going to something like that is really fun, and it shakes things up again, preventing adaptation, because if you do the same workout every day, if you're doing curls, push-ups, sit-ups every day, your body's going to go, okay, and it's not going to change. So I love finding ways to switch things up and try new things, but be open to new things. For sure.
Yeah, there's so many different types of exercises now with these different programs. There's functional, dynamic, you got kettlebells and dumbbells, and I mean, there's fun ways to get muscle workouts like rock climbing or gymnastics. You don't even have to go hit a weight room if you don't want. You can systematically strength train in your own living room with
bands are really big right now. I can be
suspension trainers, balance trainers. There's so many things that are accessible and affordable. And
TRX, I love TRX.
Yes.
It kicks my butt.
Yeah. And you can get those suspension trainers, not TRX brand, for like $20. Yeah. They're so cheap.
I have an off-brand too, bright pink. Pink. I love mine. It's not the TRX brand. I think they have like the bright neon colors, but mine's bright pink. So nobody will steal it is why I did that. But I love mine. Absolutely love it. So,
yeah, they're great.
Good. Well, I will put your link underneath this video as always, so people can reach out to you. And but yeah, this was fun. This is fun to just talk about this, and no need to prepare.
Thank you, Katherine. Good job.
All right. See you next time.
All right. See you.
Bye.